But now to a great scoop by our panellist, Sophie Elsworth at The Australian, who sorted through the budget papers only to find that the audience at the ABC is expected to plummet. Sophie reported the budget papers say the ABC's combined weekly audience reach, which has a target of 67% this financial year, is expected to fall to 63%. It is expected to drop again in the 2024-25 financial year to 62%, a result blamed on softer news web services. Now, while audiences are dropping, the national broadcaster is actually pocketing even more of your cash, with the $1.19 billion budget getting a $58.5 million top-up next year. Wages at the ABC will also rise by 9% as well. Now, let's bring Sophie back in to discuss. Now, Sophie, the thing that jumped out at me is they're blaming this concept of a softer news web market for the shrinking audiences. What does that mean in this context, and what are they trying to say?
Well, they're trying to say that, news services are seeing a decline in audience. Now, we know that it is challenging time for media outlets, whatever platform they are on. But the thing is, we give the ABC about $1.2 billion annually in government funds. So it's expected that they keep the audience engaged because they're getting an awful lot of bucket of cash dropped at their front doors every year. Now, this is not happening. Their audience will decline to 63% reach and then a further decline to 62% reach. Now, I would argue it's not about budgetary issues at the ABC that's seeing an audience decline. It's about their content, Jack. We talk about it on this show week in, week out. Even Paul Barry at the Media Watch was calling out some of their coverage of the Bondi murders. They are not getting to issues. They are not covering news events properly, and then viewers and listeners and readers are tuning in elsewhere. So they have a problem with engaging their audience, and I would argue it's because of the content and the quality of the content in some instances that they are pushing out.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And Christy, obviously the ABC does some amazing work in the regions. Where I think they've gone wrong is dedicating so much headcount into, say, the TikTok division. And they're obviously trying to do it because you get these easy, cheap views there, and then they can report back in, the Senate estimates and everything that their audience share has gone up. But the views aren't equal. It's not the same as capturing a big audience in a regional area as getting this bizarre audience on TikTok with these cheap views for essentially just covering memes and jokes.
That's exactly right. And, I grew up a regional Australian and I grew up watching the ABC, and I'm grateful and I'm thankful for the work they do in bringing representation of regional Australians to the rest of Australia. But there's not enough of a concentration on that. Regional Australians would be mortified to see what the ABC does in the city if they tuned in to ABC Sydney in the mornings and heard the host promoting wanting Sydney-siders to engage in a game of tag. People do not want to listen to that content. The news direction is dropping. If concepts such as that are major promotions to engage an audience. It used to be the best investigative journalism in Australia. It still is in parts of the regions, but not when you're tuning on in the city stations.